What's going on, everyone? Jaronism again, back with another fantastic video for you. Well, I think it's fantastic. You can be the judge of that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the truth and what is fed to us as truth and what we're allowed to search out and find on our own. You know, there's things that we can see all around us every day, things we can measure, things we can test, things we can experiment with, experiment on. Then there's just some things that we cannot. Some things that have been handed technically on a silver platter to us and taught to us as truth and fact. And in these things, we don't really have an option. You see, where I have a problem is in schools. We were all kids, and we all remember what that feels like. And you're taught and told exactly what you are to know, what the truth is. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and the Mayflower landed, and how all the pilgrims and the Indians had a nice little Thanksgiving dinner in which they all gave thanks for everything they were given, and we all lived happily ever after. Except for the fact that if you watch the Indians' land ownership, it slowly dwindled from the late 1700s until the early 1900s to the point where they were left with just the reservations we see today. But there's two sides to every story. John Wayne, for example, in an interview said of the treatment of Native Americans by white settlers, there were great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. History is really a matter of perception. The winners write history, and so if you weren't there, you're left with history books and what's taught to you as the truth. So I wanted to take a look at time and our past, the history of the earth, and we can all decide if this is something that we truly believe or is it something that has a different agenda. It was definitely taught to us, but was it taught to us the right way? So let's look at a packet of 1,000 years, which is quite a long time. A lot of generations in there, and you can just look back at what humans have accomplished in the past 1,000 years and seeing that we've come quite a long ways. Then to look back at 4.5 billion years, you need to realize that there is 4.5 million packets of 1,000 years in that time frame. So that's a long time. A lot of things can happen, but I wanted to kind of draw that out so we can all see what that actually looks like. So if we take those 1,000 years and we put a bunch of them together, 10 by 10 squares, then now we can see what only 100,000 years looks like. Still looks like quite a lot of time there. And we can take these packets of 100,000 years and shrink them down. And we can see by filling the screen with those, putting 5 across by 5 down. Now we see what 2.5 million years looks like. So let's take that 2.5 million years, spread it out a little bit till we get 4 by 4 squares of 2.5 million years, and now we're looking at only 40 million years. So you can see if we look real deep in there, one of those little packets of 1,000 is barely even noticeable with 40 million years of history behind us. But let's keep going. Let's take that 40 million years and put those into squares 4 by 4, and now we can get to 640 million years. And finally, with those 640 million year squares, we can just put 7 of those, and 7 times 640 million years is about, give or take a few, 4.5 billion. So that's an amazingly long time, and let's rewind back just so we can see where we came from. That 4.5 billion was separated down to 640 million year squares, which came from the 40 million year squares, which they themselves came from the 2.5 million year squares, which came itself from 100,000 year squares, and all of that came from the 1,000 year square. So remember, inside of that 1,000 years are basically 10 100-year lifetimes, and each of us gets to live but only one of these squares. 100 years, and if you just start thinking about what has taken place in human history in the last 100 years, science will tell us that we have gone to the moon, that we have counted all the stars, that we've made airplanes and flown them across the world, electricity. How about all 3 world wars have taken place in the last 100 years? So 4.5 billion is a ton of years, yet the universe is 13.8 billion years old. And to get some even higher numbers, our sun has 100+ billion like it in our galaxy. Some say 200 billion. And the closest one of those suns to us is 25 trillion miles away. So now we've moved on to trillions, which aren't even close to what we were talking about in just coming up with 4.5 billion years. And to get some even more fantastical numbers, our galaxy is one of 10 trillion galaxies. So believe it or not, they have counted all the stars, and the total number of stars is a 1 and then 29 zeros. That is what they'll have you believe is the number of stars which they've counted. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, the great thing about science is it's true, whether you believe it or not. And so this is what you must believe if you believe in science. So what science has done is given itself a nice little cush existence. And you might ask, how did they do this? And really, it wouldn't be too hard if you think about it. Let's say that we all wanted to make people think that they were insignificant, small, and that they didn't matter. You could just go through this step-by-step process. So first, you'd come up with your facts. And then second, you'd tell people that they could either believe in religious nonsense or your proven theories. Next, you start spreading your info. Fourth, you create schools and universities where they teach your facts. Next, you would hire only the teachers who believed in your facts. Number 6, you'd create a system of peer review based on submitted papers, but you would only allow those who believe in your facts to review papers and only those who went to your schools. 7, you would demand diplomas for those to enter into your high priesthood, to become your teachers, to become your scientists, your Bill Nyes, your Neil deGrasse's. And then you would teach others to laugh and make fun of anyone who talks about other facts. Then lastly, you make sure that the only people who get funding from the government are people who believe in your theories, your facts, and who are doing further studies to prove your theories and your facts. Must be pretty nice to always be right no matter what, because if you ever get proven wrong, well, the great thing about science is ever changing. It's the discovery of new things every day and the changing of old theories, except for the ones they tell you are fact. Did I confuse you? Here's some interesting facts from the mouth of the beast. Did I say that? I meant from NASA and science. These aren't my words. These are taken from them. That we've counted all the stars and that we know all the distances to those stars. That humans can distinguish between 1 trillion smells. Remember real quick that science must be tested, must be proven, must be experimented on. Just remember those things. That everything in your body is from exploding stars. That every atom in your body is billions of years old. That the universe might itself be a hologram. That the dung beetle uses the Milky Way to navigate. That we've found 1,000 planets outside of our solar system in the past 20 years. That there is a planet where it rains glass sideways. Again, look up the definition of the scientific method. Come back to this video and hear my voice again. There is a planet where it rains glass sideways. They have found a tiny crystal of zircon, 4.4 billion years old. Remember that you cannot date rocks, by the way. It takes a photon 170,000 years to travel from the core of the sun to the surface, and then it takes 8 minutes from the sun to your eyes. Might want to rewind that and hear that again. How about this one? Our first ancestor, the Tiktaalik fish, was our first ancestor fish that climbed out of the water to live on 4 feet. There are 2 pints of water in every cubic foot of soil on Mars. That atoms that make up a human body are mostly made of empty space. And if you remove all the empty space from the atoms that make up all the humans on Earth, the remaining mass would fit in a sugar cube. Rewind that one too. In the history of the world, we are closer to Tyrannosaurus rex than the Tyrannosaurus rex is to Stegosaurus. That the cost of a spacesuit is $11 million. That the Drake equation says there are millions of civilizations in our galaxy. How about the sun travels in an orbit around our galaxy once every 200 million years? If you fell into a black hole, you'd stretch like spaghetti. Again, these are testable and proven, even though they've never seen a black hole. Those are just some of the amazing facts given to us by the scientists at NASA and all across the world, and I call bullshit. But these are things that science says if you don't believe, you're a moron. If you don't believe we went to the moon, you're a moron. If you don't believe that the Earth's been here 4.5 billion years, you're a moron. Well, I'm here to say, here and now, my name is Jaron, and I am a moron. So I gotta ask, who's coming with me?
If anybody else wants to come with me, this moment will be the moment of something real and fun and inspiring in this God-forsaken business, and we will do it together. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? This is embarrassing.
I'll leave you with some quotes. You cannot be both sane and well-educated and disbelieve in evolution. The evidence is so strong that any sane, educated person has got to believe in evolution. Richard Dawkins. I'm often asked whether I believe in global warming. I now just reply with the question, do you believe in gravity? Neil deGrasse Tyson. The most complex object in the known universe, the brain, only uses 20 watts of power. It would require a nuclear power plant to energize a computer the size of a city block to mimic your brain. So if someone calls you a dim bulb, that's a compliment. Michio Kaku. One of the saddest lessons in history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. So the old bamboozles tend to persist as new ones rise. Carl Sagan. Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. Christopher Hitchens. Nature is a source of truth. Experience does not ever err. It is only your judgment that errs in promising itself results which are not caused by your experiments. Leonardo da Vinci. Governments don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. That is against their interests. They want obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept it. George Carlin. Lastly, I wanted to say thank you to everyone out there who has subscribed. I've been overwhelmed by the amount of people who have. It feels really good to know that other people think the same and are willing to open their mind a little and challenge what we've all been taught as truth, especially when it's not, and the truth is right in front of us. We just need to fight through the plethora of lies that we've been told and keep being told every day, and I'm glad I have somebody along the ride with me. If you like the video, please share it, put it on your Facebook, put it somewhere, tell a friend, tell a parent. I think the more people who hear it, maybe we can get through all this. So everybody, till next time, this is Jaronism, reminding you to open your mind. There's truth inside. Think for yourself, don't lie to each other, and smash scientists in the head.